You have to begin to realize I've got to change that. I can't continue to have that as my default setting, fawning, adapting, chameleon, wearing masks. I have to express my needs. I have to be authentic. And many struggle with that and fall back into old patterns very easily in early recovery. So let's finally go to the basics of healing this in very practical terms. So I hope you realize that if you don't heal your shame, you're never going to change this life trap. Secondly, if you don't learn to connect, you're never going to heal this life trap. And so start with learning to connect with yourself. Because what happened when others didn't connect with you as a child is you also said, well, then I'm not worth connecting to myself, so I will disconnect from myself because I don't like myself. So start by learning to connect with yourself and then to connect with just one person. Don't try to connect with 50 people. Just focus initially on connecting with one safe person. That is so essential. That is a key part of this recovery from this life trap is healing your shame and learning to connect. What that includes, this learning to connect, is then gradually developing a surrogate family. And so a surrogate family needs to be healthy and safe. And so that means they have good boundaries, where you have boundaries with unhealthy people. That means that you're attuned to what you need just as much as you are attuned to what they want. So your needs and their needs are equal, and you're attuned to your needs now, not just to the needs of others like you used to be. That means that you're able to say no when they're putting pressure on you to do something you're not comfortable with. You can stand up for yourself. That's what a surrogate family, a healthy surrogate family looks like. And then you have the ability and courage to take the risk to gradually get to know people at a deeper, more authentic, more vulnerable level, which leads to greater intimacy. But in doing so, you're paying attention to your gut, your intuition about this person. You're paying attention to red flags, if there are any. And you're accepting that this is going to be a gradual, slow process in getting to know them. And so you're building very gradually a healthy support group, a healthy surrogate family where you can connect and finally fit in. So those three things, healing shame, connecting to self and others, and then building a surrogate family are so important. Now let me break it into some very, very practical things. So understand where your feeling of not fitting in came from. So write down the things in childhood where you felt like you were excluded, you didn't belong, that you were rejected. Then list the everyday social situations that cause you to feel uncomfortable, that you might get excluded, you might get rejected. Then list the groups that you tend to avoid, the social situations that you tend to avoid. Then list any ways that you try to overcompensate for what you felt caused you to be rejected. So being super pretty, being super outgoing, being all about image and power and money and being smart. So write those down. And so then based on those four, list the qualities in yourself that make you feel alienated, vulnerable, inferior. So I'm too shy, I'm too sensitive, I'm too emotional, I'm too weak, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough. Just write down the things in specific detail that you have felt that people rejected you. Then go, okay, is that a real flaw? Or is that just because little kids made fun of me? And so if you're convinced the flaw is real, and most of them won't be real, that's what I want you to see. But if you think the flaw is real, write down the steps you should take to overcome it. So you go, I'm an introvert, yes, but I became shy. Now I avoid ever talking to people. That's now unhealthy. So what do I need to do, even though I'm an introvert, to make myself talk to people a little bit? So start to write down stuff like that. Then look at the flaws you cannot change. So your bodily features, things that you can't change about how you look, things you cannot change about your basic personality. So write down, these are the things that are part of the package that I got. The next thing that I would say is have a plan that when you're going to a social setting, that you initiate conversations, that you do things to connect with people. Often what happens for people who don't fit in is they become passive and they wait for others to try to connect with them. Change that, and you now initiate that conversations. And so there's a couple pieces to that. Gradually let yourself be authentic. Share parts of yourself that you might not have shared before. Learn to ask questions that would lead to getting to know somebody better and connecting at a deeper level. Stop trying to compensate. So catch yourself when you're starting to act super smart, or when you're starting to go to, I have to be funny all the time. Catch yourself and don't go there. And then have tools if you're triggered. So as soon as you start to feel, okay, I'm not fitting in, people are judging me, then your brain's going to want to go back to the old things. Stop them and say, okay, let's get back to my cortex. Let's play the tape to the end. If I start adapting and conforming, I know where that's going to end. I'm still not going to feel like I fit in. What do I need to do? I need to connect. I need to be authentic. Now, having said all of that, be aware that there's certain social settings that you're going to be able to handle and go and be authentic and start to connect with people. But there's other social settings, let's say going back to family that's quite toxic, going back to old friends who were very influential growing up and quite powerful in your mind, but very toxic. You might not be able to handle that yet. You might, if you went back to them, you would just find yourself conforming to the peer pressure and wouldn't be able to say no. And so you might need to just set boundaries and say, maybe someday I can go back to those groups, but right now I'm not strong enough to. I'm too vulnerable, so I just have to avoid certain groups, certain people, certain places because I'm too strong. Then when you start to feel that you might be getting stronger and you go, you know what, maybe I'll go visit my family. This is where you need a careful plan. You need to prepare yourself for different scenarios that might take place and how you're going to respond in them. But that's also where you might need a buddy system, where you might need somebody that can check up on you, phone you, see how you're doing, that you can process with throughout your time in this social setting. So all of those can be very helpful. Now let me end by trying to answer the question I get asked all the time. Where do I find a healthy surrogate family? Where do I find a new tribe where I can fit in? So let me say again, you can find the perfect healthy group of people, but if you don't deal with your own shame and your own connection, authenticity, lies, stuff, you can be fully accepted by them, but you're still going to go, I don't belong. You got to change you. But then where do you find safe people that are somewhat healthy where you can be and get a surrogate family? So let me say there's no magic here. There's no, just go here and you're always going to find a surrogate family. Begin with, though, finding common interest groups. So volunteer at like a humane society, or get involved in a sports group or an arts group or a music group or a cultural group or a church group or something like that where people have common interests. People are moving in a direction in their life that's positive. Then as you do that, gradually get to know them. Gradually start to ask questions. Gradually open up about yourself. But as you're doing that, you are listening to your gut. You are looking for red flags. You're looking for, is this a safe group? They might act very accepting initially, but can I express my needs, or do I have to conform in order to be accepted? Is there some indoctrination going on here that I have to believe what they believe in order to be accepted? So you're gradually going through a whole bunch of checks with this group of people. And in some cases, you're going to end up going, nope, not healthy. I'm out of here. But in others, you're going to go, hey, I'm liking this. This is feeling like family. I can be authentic. I am being accepted. I don't have to conform. There's all of these good things are happening, and you gradually find your tribe. Well, that's the end of another Friday night. I hope that helps you. So many people coming out of complex trauma struggle with this, and they can stay in this loop for years of trying to fit in but never feeling like they fit in. I hope it just helps you have some practical solutions to that so that you can find your tribe. But when you do, you've healed enough that you're able to know, I do fit in.